Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. So, it seems like the Russians are not running out of missiles anytime soon or ever, and that's according to the Ukrainians. Unbelievable. So, if you remember, I've been making videos regarding the so-called intelligence, the British, American, and Ukrainian intelligence sources informing us that Russia will run out of missiles in about 5 minutes or so. That happened the first time when I made a video on the first article reading such a BS was in April 2022. And since then, I think I covered about 6 or 7 more articles coming almost every 2 months that Russia is out of missiles, Russia is out of missiles. And it's still not out of missiles. Now, the Ukrainians are reporting that actually Russia is making now more missiles than it uses, or usually uses as a pattern. So that's very concerning. I wonder how did they achieve that under all these sanctions. So let's read this article coming from the New Voice of Ukraine, and it is from today, June 11th, 2023. Russia ups production of Kinzhal Iskander missiles despite Western sanctions, Ukraine's Air Force says. So, if the Western sanctions don't work, what do? Change it. How? More sanctions. Yep. Speaking in an interview with Ukrainian news outlet Ukrainska Pravda published on June 11, Ikhnat said there was a short pause in the spring when the enemy increased production. According to the new AGUR data, they have more of both Kinzhal and Kalibr missiles, end quote, he says. Apparently, and I'm quoting, Russia found ways to circumvent sanctions with help from cooperating countries, obtaining technological components they cannot produce themselves. Circuit boards, chips, semiconductors. I don't believe that the Russians cannot produce these things. So that's wishful thinking. These are components that missiles cannot fly without. So probably they say, well, how about we do something with those countries, and then they will not provide the Russians with these components that they cannot produce themselves because they send, satellites in space and have fighter jets and hypersonic missiles, but they can't have these semiconductors or chips and circuit boards. I mean, if you believe this, you gotta be below 86 IQ. I mean, look at this. Anyway, previously, Russia lacked sufficient number of long-range precision missiles like Kh-101, Iskander-M, Iskander-K, Kalibr, and Kinzhal that can reach far inside Ukraine and hit targets with enough accuracy. Ikhnat said, no, maybe they didn't want to do certain kind of, they didn't want to attack certain kind of targets. Is that possible, Ikhnat? They upped that only when you upped it some. When the Americans started sending a lot of ammunition and weapons, then they said we're going to blow them as they enter the country. And they started doing that. So I don't know exactly what happened, but I don't think Ikhnat knows either. He said that was because when the Russians attacked Ukraine's critical infrastructure in winter, they virtually exhausted their strategic weapon stockpiles. You have no evidence, you never provide evidence. You just say, like I tell you right now, there's no moon on the sky. And you would believe it just because I say it. And I'm quoting it. That is why I hope Russia will be pushed by sanctions. Okay, Ikhnat. And again, I'm quoting Ikhnat, if sanctions work comprehensively and are monitored, then it will be possible to put Russia in its place. Yeah, like a little female dog in a safe space. See, these guys, that's how they speak about Russia. They want to put Russia in its place. And, this is Ikhnat, of whom I don't think you heard before this invasion started. But somehow he, not the United States of America, says that Russia needs to be put in its place. Now, if I would be a Russian, how do you think I would feel about this kind of, even if, let's say, my country would be guilty of this and that? What do you mean, you Ikhnat? What do you mean? You say this, that Russia should be put in its place? Anyway, this is how people make mistakes And then they wonder why Putin has an above 80% approval rating. They give ammunition to the Russian propaganda by being dumb. Or I don't know, they don't think. You see, I don't even know how to start. I have so much to say. Let's start with the beginning. Right. You need to think at least 1 or 2 moves ahead when you are about to say something. So when you're about to think it, before it goes from here, you have to have some filters here, between the mouth, the okay, and you need filters, and you create those filters through training. You need to train yourself. That's why you become an adult. You prevent being like a little animal instinctually acting. You stop. You discipline yourself. So he doesn't have the mental discipline to understand that sometimes when he says something, and he says things that are important, because he is promoted by Ukrainska Pravda, and the whole world is going to find out when Reuters is going to pick up this, and people are going to around the world would read what Ignat said. And he said something without thinking, and these guys did not even redact it because probably they didn't think about it, or maybe they think they don't think, they don't catch that. So you need to think what will be the consequences of whatever you say. And saying that Russia must be put in its place. Let's say you are in a group of people, okay? And you tell someone that you're going to put him or her in her place. Do you think that's how would the other person look at it? And let's say that person can kick your butt. And let's say you say it. Now, are you smart? That means you lack something, right? So, anyway, my friends, that's why when for instance, I use Budanov, which I think is up there singing hymns. Okay, I think he's there already. So Budanov, when I hear, what's his name, Danilov, when I hear this guy, Ignat, and others like them, and I tell you, these are average or below average intelligence. That's why I say that, because I use their statements and I say, how can you possibly say that? Because you gotta catch yourself if you say something so dumb, unless you want to say it, and that turns into something else. You're smart, but you're evil. You really want to say things like this, but those things gonna work against you in the long term, because the Russians will pick that up like I did, and they're going to promote it, say, look what Ignat said. Ukraine will put us in our place. What exactly is our place? On the back? Huh? Or maybe cutting sugar cane on a plantation like you want to do? Because, anyway. So here you have it. Ignat and Russia has more missiles than before. And it's going to have more missiles. And I guarantee you, I'm 99.9% certain that Russia already switched these components that cannot produce, but they send all kind of things in space. What are they missing? I would like to know. Do they miss the material, which I strongly fucking doubt, or they need this, or both? What do they need? You tell me. The technology? With technology, doesn't really work that way, because they have hypersonic missiles, US, just to mention one, okay? You can't be, running, and someone said, hey, he can't be jogging, but he's sprinting. What? I mean, in order to sprint, you gotta be, right? Before that, you have to stand up, right? After that, you start walking. After that, you start, and then you start sprinting. The Russians are sprinting, and these guys are telling us that they don't even know how to stand up. They lack the components. What the hell? I think they did that because their economy could not beat the other as a cost benefit. Probably that's what it was, but I don't believe that they cannot produce that. It's impossible, I would say, impossible. Because I don't think Russia and Siberia and the Russian population is, they lack something. I don't think they lack materials. I don't think they lack intelligence. I don't think they lack anything. So what the hell do they lack? Are they lazy or something? I mean, you tell me what's left for me to analyze. But Ignat gives us the BS. That's why I'm looking at Ignat and say, okay, for me, you're about, let's say, from zero being dead, brain dead, to a genius. I think he's a 2 or a 3. In his position, I think he should be an 8 and up in his position. And he's not. He's not. He's nuts. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. Russia will still have missiles. And it's going to pace itself. It's going to launch missiles as many as it produces, and is going to still have a stockpile in case a second front emerges somewhere. I guarantee you Russia has much more than these guys are even thinking they have. See you next video.